This evening we're here in Walla at Doubleback Winery, joined by Rex Pickett, the author of Sideways. And this is your first time here in Walla.
Absolutely,
is that correct?
Yeah.
And what I love, do you have Merlot in your glass right now?
Oh no, I knew. See, that was going to be the first question.
I had to ask you if you're drinking Merlot. Obviously
I
not
have a
red.
lovely V&A from Walla.
Now, how has your novel really changed the scene of Merlot? Obviously, it created a bad rap for Merlot here in the area.
Well, I mean, there's no question that Merlot was, it was 20% of the red wine sold in the United States of just, one grape variety, which is basically a blending variety. I mean, look, when I wrote the novel, I don't know that, it's going to be a movie. I don't know that that line is going to get put into the movie. I didn't do the screenplay, whatever. And then even when they did it, I didn't know that it was going to then have the effect it was going to have. But Merlot needed a correction. They really did. But what happened is the good Merlot makers they stood the course, and they've actually been doing very well. It was the people who were making the $5 Planck Merlot because you can grow it anywhere.
Exactly.
I'm talking like Paul Giamatti now. And as a result, I think it needed that correction. It had a huge effect on the Merlot market, but it was a good effect because the good Merlot makers, like a lot of the ones you're making up here in Walla, and they sent me some.
Were you pleasantly surprised by the Merlot that you tasted
in
this area?
They were incredible, and yeah, they're big. I never disliked Merlot, but at that time when I wrote it in '99, it was generally conceded that if you were into Merlot, it was kind of tantamount to the fact that you didn't have a wine taste. So what I think Sideways did, at the risk of immodesty, is it raised the status of Merlot so that the pretenders, the people making the cheap crap, they went away and ripped their vines out, went on to some other enterprise, and the people who were serious about Merlot and who really loved that grape variety, they stayed.
So you helped the Merlot scene.
Hey, don't take it from me, take it from Dan Berger, a great wine critic. He said this in 2010. It was good for the Merlot industry.
So what was the whole reasoning behind this book in the first place?
Oh gosh, I mean, not to be facetious, but I made 2 feature films in the 80s, carried over into the 90s, and was married, went through a divorce. So it's a very personal novel. It's very soul-bearing in a way. Yes, it's fictional. Not everything in there happened, but as a writer, we're always looking for, even this could be a scene for me. We're like thieves. We're always working. And I started going up there just to get away from my life in LA. It was a terrible life. And I'd written a novel, and I wasn't getting it published, so thus Miles, who can't publish his novel. And I sat down to write Sideways, and I started getting into wine. I was going to these wine tastings, and I went up there with a friend of mine who's similar to Jack, and I know, it all coalesced at that moment, and I just wrote it really fast, but it was building in me. I was going up there again and again. It was a little sleepy, nowhere town. It was a 2-hour drive from Los Angeles, and it was a cheap vacation for me, to be honest with you. I mean, how would I know today that the Windmill Inn, where the 2 guys stay, it's now called the Sideways Inn.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, the tiny little town of Los Olivos, where the famous Merlot scene is, used to have 3 tasting rooms. You know how many? It's two blocks by 2 blocks.
Right.
You know how many tasting rooms there are there now? 55. It's a shameless red light district of tasting rooms. The hitching post where they go, he's going to hate me for saying, he doesn't even make his wine. His wine isn't even that great. It's sold all over the world. You can't get into his restaurant. All because a guy one day sat down dead broke and just literally opened up his soul. Everything in there, the divorce and all that stuff is right out of my life. Again, fictionalized and tailored narratively, because you have to create conflict and whatever. Yeah. And so it was my life circa the 90s. Fictionalized in that book with wrapped around that guy's passion for wine.
Did you ever know that it would become this big?
No. When I wrote the novel, I was just hoping I would, sell it, option it. The novel is much hated by the publishing industry. It went through 3 rounds. It has over 200 rejection letters. In fact, you can go down, my entire archive is now at my alma mater, the University of California, San Diego, and you can go and read the rejection letters there because they're in my archive. We also went out to film. Nobody wanted it in film. My ex-wife, who produced our 2 feature films, and she owns an Academy Award for a short film that I wrote. She's now the chair of NYU Tisch School of the Art graduate film. She told me to burn Sideways. She did. And she was serious. She said, burn it. Hopefully this will only be on local TV. Because she says, stop telling that story, Rex. And it's grossed what, $650 million worldwide all these years. And here we are, think about it this way. The film came out 13 and a half years ago. We're still
That's
talking
exactly
about
what I was going to ask you about.
And Kristen, you know, I was like, in the airport, I was talking to some people next to me about Walla Walla, next thing Sideways. These people knew it.
Yes.
Then this is funny, I pulled out my phone. I have a new business card. I was on Jeopardy the other night. Yeah, Rex Pickett wrote this 2004 novel, who really did once take a swig wine from the spit bucket. And some young guy goes, what is Sideways? He got it like really fast, so it's funny.
And now a musical you're talking about.
Yeah, well, we did the
That's
play
exciting.
in 4 places, and now I'm in talks to do the musical. I would write the libretto, so no effing Merlot,
Yeah.
no effing Merlot. No matter how low you go, no effing Merlot.
So taking you back here to Walla Walla,
Yeah.
what do you know about this small little city, and what are you hoping to take away from it?
You know, it's clearly a beautiful area, and obviously wine, and I'm not, you know, Sideways had a lot to do with this, you know. So you were asking about Merlot, they might have taken a hit, but wine in general has grown worldwide. I mean, it's huge in China and everywhere else. So, you know, I think Walla Walla, I'm not saying because of Sideways, but it's definitely benefiting by, you know, more and more people getting into drinking wine. I mean, it really is. And this place is only going to grow because look, I just got here.
Right.
Literally an hour and a half ago, downtown, and you have these old houses. It's so beautiful here. We're staring out behind the camera here. He probably can pan over. I mean, I just see these untrammeled, open vistas. See, the poetry's already flowing, Kristen.
See?
You know.
Next book here, maybe?
I'm saying.
Thinking about it?
Your people talk to my people.
This week on 100% Chance of Wine, we made our way to Walla Walla, Northstar Winery, joined by the assistant winemaker, Karen Gasparati.
Yep.
And I want to start off first. You guys are owned by Chateau Saint Michel, is that correct?
That's correct.
Why did they want a winery here in Walla Walla in particular?
So years ago, the winery was established in 1994, and around that time, we were not making the wines in Walla Walla, and our CEO, Ted Basler, was approached by several of the founding fathers of Walla Walla, just about how great Walla Walla is, you know, the region, and hoping that we would be interested in bringing a winery here. So then this beautiful facility was built here in 2002, and we call it our home.
Why Northstar? What's the meaning behind the name?
So Northstar, the idea with Northstar is to be the guiding light in Merlot. So we make 3 different Merlot or Merlot-based blends here, and so we believe we still are the guiding light of Merlot.
And when making the Merlot, why this particular area for making Merlots? What is it about this general growing area that's just perfect for Merlot?
So Merlot, we feel Merlot does best in Washington. It just really showcases the nice fruit characteristics it has. Really long growing season. We irrigate our vineyards here, which is different than some other areas like Bordeaux, for instance. We're applying the water, so we get to control all of that. Long growing season, cool nights helps retain acidity. We also source from not just Walla Walla, but several other AVAs in Washington. So it allows us to create different styles of Merlot. So we have a couple different lines of Merlot. We have our Columbia Valley line. We have our Walla Walla, which is, all these are showcasing basically different terroir. So.
And it allows you guys to showcase your winemaking techniques as well. I mean, you get to source these grapes and then kind of create what you think is the best Merlot out there.
For sure, and it allows for tons of creativity and blending, so that's one of the also reasons we do that, so we can play around and just have lots of fun when we're doing it. When we first started, it was pretty much exclusively just Merlot, and over the years we're bringing in different varietals for blending, and then we make several club wines, we call them, which are smaller production that are very varietal focused, so Cab Franc, for instance, or Syrah. So smaller production, we sell them all here in the tasting room. And then we do have a little bit larger production of some Cab Sauvignon, which competes kind of with our Columbia Valley Merlot. So both of those are a little bit bigger production. And yeah, just playing around with lots of different varietals. Everyone's always wants to try something different, so it's fun to make different stuff.
And what brought you to Northstar?
So I got a degree from WSU in viticulture and enology, and so obviously I had an interest in wine. What I really love about winemaking is it's not just a desk job, so you're out there, I'm in the cellar floor, I'm pulling hoses, getting sweaty, all that fun stuff, but I also get to do some analytical stuff, do some lab analysis, and of course there's always spreadsheets to do too as well, so I get to do a very well-rounded job. And I just have a passion for really high quality wine, and Northstar brings that to the table.
On a daily basis, what do you think is your favorite process in just winemaking in general?
Well, it's hard to say daily basis, but like harvest is the time when it's like, we get really excited about harvest. We're really busy. We're here every day. We call it our house. You see your coworkers more than you see your family. But harvest is definitely when it's like everyone's jonesing to go and just really tear into it. I mean, that's when the wine is made, and it really is. It's physical, it's demanding, but it really is like the best time of year.
What would you say to those folks who are watching this right now and Merlot has gotten kind of a bad rap because of the movie Sideways?
Yeah.
What do you say to those people?
Well, they haven't tried Washington Merlot probably. So there's a lot of different Merlots out there, California Merlots. Washington Merlot I think brings something completely different to the table. I think there's something for everyone. We make several different styles of Merlot, basically so people can kind of try different Merlots and see what they like. It's just like anything. You can't just, how can you just not love a wine? I mean, people are like, what's your favorite wine? I'm like, depends on the day,
Right.
So give it a try.
We are here in Walla Walla, Northstar Winery, joined by Kathy Belcher. Beautiful piece of property that you guys have out here. Tell me more about it.
Well, we're on 14 acres total. It was a really specific site that our CEO of our company had chosen in order to showcase Merlot here at Northstar. So we have beautiful grounds, beautiful views of the Blue Mountains, just a perfect setting for wine tasting. We're also pretty fortunate to have quite a bit of space to work with in order to have different kinds of experiences with our guests.
And tell me more about those experiences, because you have several of them.
Sure, we do. Besides wine tasting, and we really try hard to make sure that guests have a really unique experience, we can do private seated tastings. We have a conference room / library that works really well for groups, group meetings, also private tastings. We do what's called flights and bites in that conference room too, where you do a wine and food pairing. That's a great opportunity. Unique to Northstar, we have the Northstar blending experience, a specific space in the winery set aside so you can blend your own bottle of wine that you cork yourself and take home, make your own label, and can commemorate an experience that you had here at Northstar.
Now, this is something different you probably won't find much, especially around the state of Washington.
Sure, there's you can do a one-off blending from time to time that a winery has put together, but having the specific space set aside for that, Northstar's been doing it now for 4 years.
What has been the feedback with people with these kind of classes?
Sure, it's great. We have many return visitors, and then it's really nice with individuals who want to commemorate a big experience, like a big birthday, an anniversary, a retirement.
One thing that's unique, so you walk in the doors and people see this kind of the grand entrance. You have this star that is on your floor right now. You said you could stand on it and see the North Star.
It's a compass. Highlighted with N. If you stand in the middle of that compass and look up through the skylight at night, you will see the North Star. So the whole building has been oriented to go north.
Any other thing in this building that's just fascinating for someone that they might come to visit?
We've been here since 2002, and one of the most frequent comments is, did you just open? It still feels really timely and classic, but it has a new sense about it. So it just really fits in with the environment. It has kind of a lodgy feel when you come in, big soaring ceilings. So it really, besides being a fairly big location, the extra height really is nice too.
What would you say to somebody who's maybe looking to come out and visit you guys?
Sure, just, if you give us a call in advance if you'd like, and we can really make it personal and special for you. But regardless, we're going to meet you wherever you are, whether you're just learning about wine, whether you're really experienced, we can tailor-made an experience for you.
This week on 100% Chance of Wine, we made our way out to Pepperbridge Winery in Walla Walla and joined by one of the founding owners, Norm McKibbins. And what I like about your name is they like to call you Storm and Norm. Is that right?
That is correct.
Why is that?
Well, I think it carried over from construction days, which was my first career, but I always trying to do something keeps things going. Sometimes I push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're celebrating now 20 years
Yes.
here at the winery.
Yes.
How is that?
You know, it's been fun. I actually started in the business with Mike Hogue when I retired from corporate in '85. Mike talked me into joining him at Hogue Cellars in '87, so he's to blame for me starting this. But I decided that I wanted my own small winery. I'm really the wine grower. Jean-Francois Palais, my winemaking partner, makes the wine. And Ray Goff, who's our third partner, I hired because he was leaving Anheuser-Busch, and I figured he knew marketing, which he does. So that the three families make up that's both this winery and Amavi Cellars.
Tell me more about the winemaker that you guys have. Have here.
For my very first vintage, I located Tom Eddy, who I'd known from years ago, and said, Tom, would you help me design this winery first and then make my first wine, which he did. And I finally said, Tom, I can't afford to fly you up from Napa every weekend. I need a winemaker. And he said, I want you to come down to the Silverado Country Club in Napa, have a glass of wine with somebody. He said, I won't tell you his name because he's not on the market. Well, it was Jean-Francois Palais, and he was making wine for Heights Cellars. And Joe Heights is one of the old established wineries there. And I didn't think I had a chance of getting him, but I had him fly up and taste grapes, and taste wine that the other winemakers are making from my grapes. And he said yes, he would come, and so about 18 months into it, I made him a partner, which second smartest thing I ever did. My wife's still my first, but and then I went across to visit his folks. I found out more about him. He grew up in a winery that was built in 1250, and the grapes he was working with, because he helped the vineyard there, were planted by the Pope in 985.
Wow.
So every time somebody talks to me about being the old timer in the vineyards here, I laugh because I lack 6 years of being 1,000 years younger from his vineyard.
What was day one like here at the winery for you?
You know, day one was a big open house, and I loved it. But I very much enjoy the business. I'm very proud of the wine we make, and I like to meet people. And I know I chaired the Washington Wine Commission for a while, and I'm a founding member of the Oregon Wine Board, so I'm definitely out there meeting people. I enjoy that. That is retirement to me.
Yeah. 20 years later, what has changed for you?
Probably the biggest change, and over the years, I get asked quite often, where do you see Walla Walla going? And I take a very wild guess and say 5 years we'll be here. We're there in 2, and we continue that way. I can't believe the rate of growth.
What I love is in this winery you have a mural that is down in the cellar. Tell me more about that.
We hired a local man who labeled himself the Vineyard Van Gogh, and he does actually a very good job. And my wife Jenny kind of said, here's what I'd like to see, and the two of them got together and agreed on what was going to happen. And he did a very good job of painting it. And you probably noticed my old original production crew are all on the board there.
Have you always had a love for wine?
Honestly, once I retired, we got into it, but I found I was really a novice, and I still am a novice in the sense I keep learning all the time.
Each and every day it's a new learning experience for you?
It is. And each and every wine that comes out is a new experience.
If you had to pick a favorite wine, what would it be?
How many children do you have? Yeah, I'm a Cabernet person, but we only make Bordeaux varietals here. And the reason that Amavi got started is we were growing some very nice Syrahs, and so I had promised Jean-Francois when I hired my wife in Heights Cellars years ago that it would always be Bordeaux. That's what he wanted. So we ended up starting a second winery so that he can, I say play, he's very serious about what he makes, but so he can try other brands.
What would you say is your signature here? Just the Bordeaux varieties, or what would you say that would bring people in here to Pepperbridge?
No, I would say both the quality of the wine brings them in. The staff keeps them because they come here for fun, and if they enjoy the time that they're here, they think about it, they come back.
Now we've made our way to the wine library, and what I love about this room is it has all the wines since you first started. And I want to go through with you, picking out some of your favorite vintages and some of the memories you had making those wines. So let's start with the first one. What are you going to pick out?
Well, 1998, because it was our first wine. A lot of memories here. First of all, I had Tom Eddy, who was the last winemaker at Christian Brothers, and a longtime friend, came to help me on the design of the winery, and I asked him to make my first wine. So he crushed and fermented this, and then I told him I needed a winemaker and permanent, and so he is the one that introduced me to Jean-Francois Pellet. And Jean-Francois actually finished this wine, not just going year by year, but the 1999 is also one of my favorites because it was Jean-Francois's first wine start to finish. And it's also the year that he figured out that Walla really made great Merlot, because coming from Heights Cellars, Joe Heights always said the only blend for Cabernet is Cabernet. That's all he worked with. And so that's the way Jean-Francois was trained over here.
So from 1999, where do you go from there?
I would probably jump to 2001, and I have to jump 99, 2000, there we go.
Way
Long
up there.
stretch. The 2001, this happens to be a 2001 Merlot. The 2001 was a year that at that time we called perfect as far as the heat, the temperature, and the way the grapes ripened up. And it's one that kind of put us on the map.
So where do you go from here?
2007 would be my choice. I'll pull a Magnum. The 2007, a little bit of dust on the bottle.
It's always good.
The 2007 was our last really big year, or the first one following 2001. I mean, they were all good years, but there's just some years that peak. And I'd like to say it's my skill growing or Jean-Francois' skill winemaking, but Mother Nature really has a lot to do with when you have a good year in wine. Yeah. The next year would be our 2012, and for a couple reasons. I happen to have Trine here, which is our Bordeaux blend, and the 2012 Mother Nature was just the perfect average year. I mean, it really was the average of everything up to that point. And we in the entire valley made great wines that year. This wine was entered into the, there's 6 of the new nations have their own tasting, and you have to be chosen by a sommelier. You don't just enter it, and it came in second in Cabernet in the world in the new nations, and so and Le Col did great on that one too. So it was a great year. There's not much of it left, but because everybody knew it was a good year.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you describe it as a normal year, what is that as a definition to you?
We didn't have super heat or super cold, and Mother Nature cooperated all the way. Now, 2013 was hottest ever. 2014 was hotter yet. 2015 was hotter yet, and it is my last favorite pick, if you will, I'd pull out. That was the last really hot year, and it's the one. The reason I say it's my next pick is when I could finally taste it and had some age on it. It turns out to be a beautiful wine, but I didn't know for those first years after that heat what we were going to have. I knew it wasn't going to be spoiled, but I didn't know the quality. It turned out that it's been a wine that's been very well received. So that's my brief summary of 20 years.
So when you're talking about 2012 being like a normal year, and then you have 2015, just a hot year, are there flavor differences in the wines?
There are. I wouldn't say good or bad. Just you're going to get a different flavor. Grapes change flavor all the time. A lot of the difference in flavor is when they pick. It's not good or bad. It's just the flavor that they choose to pick at. Jean-Francois is in the vineyard at daylight every morning tasting grapes. That's how he chooses when to pick. So I don't know what's coming in until he's out there that morning tasting. The one other thing I'd mention is we started just a few years ago making a bit of white wine, Sauvignon Blanc. It's for the hot weather because people like to be able to chill. Unfortunately, they're making it good enough it doesn't last to the hot weather. But Jean-Francois came to me and said, Norm, I'd like to make a white wine because that's really what they do. And Chasselet is their wine in Switzerland. And I said, sure, go ahead. Well, when I tasted it, I said, yeah, we're gonna keep making it.